Good morning. What's up, gang? Party people, how we doing? Guys, we are day 20 of the 30-day challenge. Today is, what's today, Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday morning. We've got a lot going on, a lot of good stuff. Apologies for hopping on a little bit late. Had to do some stuff, take care of my son this morning. He's doing well, just finished his breakfast, so we are good to go. All right. What do we got going on? What updates do we have from yesterday? First and foremost, let me take a sip of my tea. Okay. So yesterday, so this morning, what we're gonna do is, you guys have heard me have like kind of the initial call a few times with an agent. What I wanted to do is say for you guys today is, hey, what is like the actual offer call look like? When you call and you're like, hey, I need to be at like this price, what does that look like? We're going to do that this morning, hopefully, as long as he picks up the phone. So we're going to look at the deal. I'm going to like kind of look it over, kind of let you guys know my thoughts, where I think we'd need to be at, and then make the offer. And how do we make it to where we're like, hey, we're also looking to wholesale this property? So that's number one. Number two, we've got a walkthrough. So there's another property that we got under contract for 310, right? We've talked about that a bunch. Had an interesting back and forth with the agent last night. She had a lot of issues because we didn't have the EMD and it was due yesterday. And I was like, I haven't seen the property yet, and it's at a price to where I'm like, I'm gonna have to renegotiate it anyways. So me and her were going back and forth on that. And so this was actually really interesting. And I'll try to pull this out a little bit maybe today. It really depends on if it's necessary for the conversation or not. But so this agent, we had a far disconnect, right? Now, one of the reasons was because I had spoke with Glendis. 80% of my conversation was just with Glendis. And apparently there was a big disconnect between the actual listing agent, Paula, and the conversation I had with Glendis. Because Paula, the actual listing agent, Glendis is kind of like her boots on the ground for this deal. Paula, the actual listing agent, is like, yo, I had to convince them to accept 310. Like, if you think you're going to look at this property and then renegotiate it lower, she's like, it's not going to happen. And I was pretty much like, well, then this property isn't going to get sold. Like, because that was the entire understanding. As to, I was like, I didn't even want to make an offer on this property. And so then I kind of reset. I was like, okay, it sounded like all this, like we're on two different pages. Let's kind of go through something and maybe we can get on the same page and see if we can move forward. And I was like, so what do you think this property, because she thinks 310 is an amazing price. She's like, that's very fair. It's a great price, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what do you think this property fixed up would sell for? And she says 360. I thought she was going to say something way higher. 360 is actually really spot on. Like, it's like that's a good conservative number. Like all day, like there are comps at 360. I actually like ARV, I was actually thinking a little bit higher. But what I told her was, I was like, 360. I was like, perfect. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're spot on. So let's stick with that number, 360. I was like, what do you think it would cost to fix up the house into that 360 price condition? Like, do you think, I was like, based off pictures, she's like, well, the bathroom's this, a comp sold for that. Like they had an as is, kind of not an as is, but they had like the same dated bathroom and dated kitchen. I'm like, yeah, but the picture's like, it's not just dated. And I'm re-saying things that she told to me. I was like, you told me this guy's lived here and he's taken care of nothing. And I mean, your words, you said he's trashed the place. I was like, I mean, look at these pictures. It's not a dated bathroom. Like, it's not that it's just out of date. It's like, dude, the bathroom's gross. Like, we need to redo that whole thing. Right. And so I'm clarifying that with her, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, the kitchen, I was like, the carpets, I was like, we're going to have to redo all the carpets. I was like, I don't know if it needs a roof or not. It does not need a roof. It was like new. It's only like, I don't know, I think 8 years old or something like that. And she's like, paint and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, okay. I was like, so if we were to, let's assume, I was like, there's absolutely nothing major needed. And it's like a bathroom, kitchen, carpet, paint. I was like, I will be super conservative. Or I'm sorry, I will be like, I will pick the lowest possible. This is definitely like too low. But let's just, for the sake of conversation, let's say it somehow hits that lowest number of 25 to 30,000. And she literally goes, she's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's the exact number I was thinking in my head. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is perfect. She agrees with like a 360 price. She's thinking a 25 to 30K rehab, which is probably still a bit low, but it's not like she thinks, oh, like for $4,000, you can make this work. Right. And so I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm like, so Paula, here's the issue. I was like, if I'm buying it at 310, it's going to cost me $30,000 to fix it up. That puts me at 340. You're saying it'll sell at 360. I was like, Paula, but we also you guys have to get paid on the back end. So I was like, then we have to work in an agent fee. That's over 20. I think at 360, an agent's fee would have been like at 6% would have been like 21,000. I was like, Paula, and that's not even including hard money costs, the cost for us to get the loan, pay the interest, all of that. That's not even including our profit margin. Typically, a bare minimum on a flip, a guy's going to want to make 10%. And so on a, $360,000 house, they're going to want to make about 35 grand. I was like, and then she's like, yes, well, it is a very narrow deal. I'm like, no, I'm like, Paula, it's not a narrow deal. It's not a deal. I was like, 310, that's not a narrow deal. I was like, 310 is like somebody's losing a lot of money. Like not a little, not like, we lost a few grand. Not that you want to lose a few grand anyway, because like if you make 5 grand on a fix and flip that you bought, you had to put 30 grand into it and you sold it for 360 at those numbers. Like if you only make like 5 grand, pretty much you lost on that deal, right? That it's like, man, you just got by the skin of your teeth because you have over 300 grand at risk. So she gave me a lot of pushback on that. Conversation didn't end super hot, but basically I was able to find an agent that represented a buyer. He's like, yeah, man, I've got like really, really good rock solid buyers. Because I was actually calling, I couldn't get the number for the buyer, and it was on a very similar property where it was super trashed. And he sold it for $297. Now it had an in-ground pool, but I mean, this house, it looked way worse than ours did. Similar property, except it had an in-ground pool, but the in-ground pool was like nasty. So, I couldn't find a number for the buyer on that property. So I called up the agent and I was like, yo, I've got this deal right around the corner. And he's like, oh yeah, I represented the buyer and the seller on that. He's like, he's like, I've done wholesaling before. He's like, I'm an agent. He's like, yeah. He's like, can I get in it tomorrow? He's like, I'll walk it and I'll let you know what my guy could pay. He's like, I've got, X amount of buyers. He was like, one of them bought, I don't know, a couple $100 million of in real estate. Doesn't really mean not much to me. But he's like, yeah, I've got really legit buyers. So I'm like, cool. Really good conversation with the guy. He's going to look at the property today. I told the other agent, I'm like, yo, the other thing was in our conversation. She was like, because I also told her, I was like, look, I'm having other people. I was like, at 3 times, like, I'll be honest with you, Paul. I was like, I'm probably not going to be able to buy this deal. I was like, I'm not, the reason why, and I told her the reason why I'm delaying EMD is because I'm not going to be able to get to a price that's going to be a fit for your seller. Like 99% certain that I will not be able to buy this property at a price that your seller is going to want to say yes to. I was like, so I'm going out of my way to facilitate some of the key relationships that I have, because some of those guys, it's a better fit for them, and sometimes they can pay more than me. So I'm just trying to set you up so that you can move this property. And that's how I position it. I was like, and when I do that, I don't front EMD. I get it from them. And then she's like, well, like, I get it. Like, no, she's like, I'm not interested in like doing like a wholesale property or like something like that. She's like, you know, she's like, we have a lot of, she literally goes, she's like, we have a lot of interest at the property. Like, I don't need that. I was like, Paula, this property is listed at $399. I was like, I find it very hard to believe that you have a lot of interest in this property. I flat out said that to her. And sometimes you got to be direct like that. It's not always going to move the conversation forward. You kind of have to be a little tactful, but sometimes you do got to just be really direct and just like, you got to call it as it is, right? We talked about having like that genuine childlike curiosity. Sometimes you got to take that same type of, you know, the childlike curiosity is like, ask the obvious questions. Sometimes you got to be direct and point out the obvious things where it's like, Paula, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, this is priced at $399. There's no way like you're getting a lot of attention on this, right? And it's not me trying to be arrogant, but it's like, let's just be like real with each other. So that's where the conversation was. I was like, Paula, look, here's what we can do. I was like, I'm gonna have my guy walk it tomorrow. He's gonna let me know. I was like, I'll let you know. I was like, if we can buy it, great. We'll give EMD right away. I was like, if not, I'll at least be able to tell you why and exactly what needs to be done with the property. And, you know, we move forward from there. No harm, no foul. So she wasn't like super happy with it, but she was like, okay, fine. You know, let's move forward with that and we'll see. So that's where we're at with that deal. And I just got 3 texts. Kenneth and all items for code enforcement have been prepared and cleaned. He is waiting a call back from a lady. Can to discuss the fine. Since he wasn't living there, he wasn't aware of being charged per day for those items not being fixed. Yeah, that sucks. I also never heard back from title last night, so that is my next call, so I can get this addendum completed and over to you for signature. Okay, perfect. Thank you for the update. Okay. That was the agent on the Beachman property. The one where we've got a buyer lined up. Now we just got to get it to close. Okay, what else? What else do I have for you guys? I think that's it. So let's share my screen here. Present, share screen. This one. Get rid of that. Hide this. Okay, cool. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to check our privy email, see what new goodies they've got for us. All right, so 319 listed about a month ago. Okay, it's got carport. It's 3.2. Have I looked at this? So I did market research. Why did I do market research? So when I click here, manage list, I had, because this box was selected, it means I've already seen this property and I already put it in a specific bucket. Why would I have put it as market research though? Is it because brand new everything? Yeah, probably. But what? Okay, now I'm just confused though, because. All right. Well, we're just not going to waste our time looking at it. We'll just leave it in the market research. Okay, so we've already looked at that one. Let's look at this other property. All right. 200 grand. We love sub 300. Okay, so it's like this Lockhart area. Okay. Calling all investors. Plus bonus room. This is 49 days ago. And they just dropped 25 grand a week ago. Let's look at some contact. That's a nice looking house. So I want to see from the outside. What is... So I want to know what's all this. So this is the house. Is that like a shed? Or is that like some other dude's house? Okay, so honestly, so for this property, it's not so much the interior that's a deal killer. It's, I mean, assuming this is a street view, so who knows, maybe some work's been done, but I doubt it. Assuming the outside looks, you know, anything like this still, yeah, this is gonna be a lot of work. Huh. You know what? We're gonna. This property would be hard to sell, but you know we'll add it for the conversation because so I've already passed this. So Monica. So this. All right. Let's try to see if I've called her. So I'm looking for Monica. 5-1. Okay. Yes, I have it there on my list. All right. So we'll call this one again today. Challenging property for sure. Sometimes properties like this, you know, especially if it's been listed for 50 days, sometimes they're like, okay, like we know it's like this is going to be tough to sell. And sometimes you can get like a massive price reduction. Okay, so that is all of privy emails. Cool. Now let's look at let's comp this deal and figure out what price we're gonna need to be at. So it was 1223 East Second. I'll tell you what, it'll be easier. Let's just go here. No, it's Mount Dora. All right, so let's look at some comps. Now he sent me some pictures of the interior. Didn't really help me that much because these are old pictures from like when he bought it. And now here's another good thing. If you remember from this conversation, this was something really important, and you want to do this with agents, with sellers, super important. Get them to make a commitment to telling you what the condition is, right? Don't just say, oh, I can make a cash offer at this price. You always want, and this is where I feel like a lot of guys go wrong, is when they make their offer, they position of like, hey, when I make you this offer, like it's good, we can sign today, done deal. You want to have confidence in your offer, but you also want to kind of set the expectation of like, this is dependent on the inspection. And what that does is, one, it keeps you from getting in trouble when you're like, dude, I can't buy this. Like, I can't find a buyer for it. It's priced too high, whatever. But more importantly, what it does is it sets you up for when you look at the property. And like, same thing, what I did with Paula yesterday, right? We had a conversation. Like, I want her to tell me, what does this property need to sell for 360? And she's like, oh, it just needs this, paint, some carpet, and a bathroom. We both agreed to that. Now, if my buyer walks it and he's like, bro, it needs new AC, it needs a wall here, like all of this needs to get taken out, I need to update like the electrical or redo some plumbing, I can now bring that to her, and I'm totally justified in like, one, either canceling or renegotiating, right? Because I'm like, dude, you told me it was this. We went and walked it, and it's not what you said it was. So that's kind of why he's able to send me these pictures. And he said, he's like, hey, this is the like, he's like, there's stuff there, but he was like, if you were to take out the stuff, the house is in the exact same condition. I doubt that, but I will make an offer based off what he's saying. And if you're like, Nate, what do you mean? Well, that means a lot of guys are like, oh, I'm just going to assume like this house based on square footage, it's probably going to need 40 grand. Dude, you're going to lose out on a lot of like deals or a lot of potential deals if you just do that. Because even though you're probably right, the agent's like, nah, man, I told him it's this condition and it's only going to cost him like 15 grand. Right? So I'll make an offer based off of what he's saying. Like, dude, if you're saying it really is in this condition, I can make an offer at this price. But I know when I walk it, I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. But 99% of the time, I'm going to walk it and it's not going to be in the condition that they're thinking it's in or that they said it's in. Right? Which now it doesn't make, so when I come back and I renegotiate it and I'm like 25 grand less, it's not you being unreasonable, it's that they misled you, right? And that's how it looks. So it's no longer they're attacking you for having the low offer. It's like you're the reasonable person. You're like, dude, like I walked it, this is what it is. Like, you told me it was this, it's not this. That's okay. Like, I'm not attacking you for it. Like, we're still cool, but I would need it at this price. And now you actually have something to go off of. All right, so enough looking at those pictures. Let's look at the property. And that's why, like, there's two things with renegotiation. Don't lock up deals just to renegotiate it, especially if you're not setting that. Like you need to set those expectations accordingly. Like, don't be misleading, don't lie, right? But at the same time, don't only think that like don't go into every conversation and every offer thinking that, you know, there's never a potential for you to renegotiate or that you should never renegotiate. Like, no, renegotiating is like, that is a whole part of the process. You know, whether that's off market as wholesalers, but even with agents, like, they know that too. So all we do is we just, and really like make your offer like a good offer based off of what they say, right? Because if everything they say is true and you walk it and you're like, dang, like they were right, it doesn't need anything, like it's got all this stuff and I still can't buy it at this price, like don't do that, because that's just how you get yourself in trouble and kind of waste people's time. All right, So we've got a 3-2. So he's thinking it'll sell for between 300, 315. I remember we were looking yesterday. Here's the other thing. Even if your comps are higher, if you think it's a higher ARV, I am always going to use their number. Yeah, I'm always going to go off of their comp. You know, just like when I'm talking with them and explaining it. So we're thinking 300 ARV to 315. What's this? Do you guys get like 10 of these texts a day? The one where it's like, oh, your Amazon account has been locked. You know, we've received multiple failed logins. Click this link. Delete spam. Okay. Back to this house. So I remember when I was taking a look at this, I actually really liked. I was actually thinking it could potentially be higher, depending on the type of rehab you do. He's thinking it'll sell for 300 to 315 in this condition, right? If like you just kind of cleaned it up and maybe slapped some paint, which could be the case, and that might be the right play. That's the other thing with rehab. Don't assume a $40,000 rehab. You've got to think about what level. Like, not every house should get granite countertops, all new floors, and all this stuff. It depends on the neighborhood. It depends on your comps, because that can be the difference between you making an offer at 200,000 or your offer price being 225,000. Big difference. That's the difference between doing a deal and not doing a deal. Difference between making money and not making money. All right, so let's look at this. So I'm looking at what's sold recently, right? I'm looking at the most recently sold comps. We looked at this one. This one sold for 332. I don't like this as a comp. You know, one's got a 2-car garage. It's a different layout, different style house. But I do like that it's a 3.2. It's like the same square footage. It's also 40 years newer. That's another big thing. But when we looked at the pictures, they weren't great. They weren't great pictures. I like that this thing sold for 210. Why? Because if this thing sold for 210, I mean, I feel very confident that we can at least make an offer at 210. Or I'd be willing to make an offer at 210. The other thing is we know he got offers around 180-ish. We're assuming a little bit because he wasn't super clear, but we were like, oh, like 180, and he was like, yeah. All right, so this sold in January, 3.2. I don't really love this as a comp because, again, 2-car garage. It's a different style. Now the other thing to keep in mind is, like, it's pretty nice on the inside. Was this a flip? Let's take a look. No. The other thing with this property and the other one, so these both sold for 330, right? This house and that other one. This one's nicer than the other one as far as the interior, like the pictures anyways, like definitely way nicer pictures than the other one. The other thing is that, like, take consideration, like, they're selling for 330 in like the heart of winter, like December. Like, this one's like sold on January 19th, right? And they listed it, I think it said like in December or something. So these are going to be really good comps. Well, not comps because they're not comp properties, but as far as we like that things are selling in this price range, even during the winter months. So this property's 40 years newer. Oh, how old was this one? Yeah, this property is also kind of that 1990s. This 325 sold November. Now, I think it was this one that we really liked. This is the type of property that we would push as our comp, but that guys are probably going to give us a hard time about. And the reason they're going to give us a hard time about it is because they're going to be like, bro, it's kind of funny because they're like, but bro, that's the highest sold comp in the neighborhood. And it's like, dude, like, what else would I be picking? Right? Like, what else would I be picking to show you? So there is some truth to that, right? Like on the Beachman property, like all the comps are at 280, but then there was one that was at 350. And that was the highest sold in the neighborhood. But not only was it the highest sold, but it was the highest sold by a lot, right? That's what, $70,000 difference from like the other comps, 60, 70,000. And it just like, it's the only one. Like there was multiple comps at that 280-ish price. So if I was a flipper, I'd give pushback on that too. Now this, if everything's in that 330, 340-ish range, and this one sold for 350, and you're like, yo, that's high. Well, let's look at it as like, okay, do we think like, was this just some fluke, or is there anything that would justify this selling for 350? Now, what are the other things I really like about this? One, it's pretty much within our year, right? Ours is a 54 or 55. This is a 1951. It's that kind of one story, right? So similar style. I love that this does not have a garage. I love that it doesn't have a garage. That's a big selling point for our property. Now, with just that stuff, it's like, okay, well, right now the 350 is not making sense. Like this doesn't really make sense as a comp with the things we've looked at so far. Let's look a little bit closer. When we look at the interior, compared to the other properties, one, it's way nicer, right? Like the kitchen's not like it's a lot more modern. The floors look great. The pictures are really well done. I know that first house that was that sold for 330, the one that we said we didn't like as a comp, it's got the 2-car garage and it's bigger. That house had like bad pictures. It had bad pictures. It like looked kind of cluttered in there and whatnot. Didn't look terrible, but it didn't look like this. The other thing is the other properties were more like as is, right? Like this looks like it's been updated. Like everything's been updated in it. When we look at the kitchen, the interior, like it looks brand new. So now that tells me like, okay, and you'll notice this a lot with comps. Or I have, when I look at comps, the comps that sell for the highest, where you're like, man, why did this property sell like 10, 20 grand more than like most of the other ones? Like it seems like slightly unusually high. In my experience, I've seen those properties that kind of stand out and they're like legit sold properties. It's not like something weird happened. It like they almost always, they had like a really like top of the line finish and they're like modern. Like a lot of the stuff, it's much more modern. Look like, when we look at the interior on this, the bathroom's pretty standard, but as far as the kitchen, and then we got the exterior here. Like we look at the backyard, nothing special, right? Yeah, it has a backyard. That's something to keep in mind. Like if ours didn't have a backyard at all, but ours does, and ours has like a newer fence. So that I think our property, the yard, is actually going to be a really strong point. And you could say, oh, but it's got this nice fire pit. And it's like, yeah, but that's what, like, anybody could do that. Like that's easy to throw in, right? It's not like this is an in-ground pool to where it's going to cost like a big chunk of change and be a big project. Like a dude could just throw this in. if they thought like that would make a difference. So I love this property as a comp. So I would try to push 350 as my ARV, but I think that's like a bit bold. Like I'm not going to calculate my numbers on a 350 ARV. Let's look at some of the other ones. So, and then here's the ones that don't really help us out. So this sold for 238. Year, right? 1955. The nice thing is let's throw this in the Redfin to see if there are some pictures on there that aren't on here for whatever reason. Come on. Oh my goodness. There we go. Let's look at a street view. Now, I think street views are like really good, especially like if you don't have a lot of pictures or like on any house when the pictures are it's just like you just see the house. Try to look at a street view or a satellite view. Kind of like that other property that we were just looking at, the one that was like trashed, that was listed for 200,000. When we looked at a street view, one, we were like, oh, that's why there's no pictures of the exterior, right? Because the yard is just like absolutely trashed. But two, there was another structure like right next to it. Sometimes you can have a house where like there's another house like literally almost like I've seen houses like in Michigan. There were deals where it's like they were so close, like side by side. One, I have no idea how it got approved, or how like that even worked out. But two, like you couldn't fit in sideways between the houses, honest to God. And like that's gonna be an issue. So let's see. Did this come up here? Okay, no. So it's just so let's go back to street view. But this one, it looks fine. Actually, it looks nice. Looks like it doesn't have a paved driveway. Not a big deal. But those are all things that help, right? Or is that a paved driveway? I mean, if it is, it needs to get redone. So, and then let's look at public records, property history. Okay, so it was listed. Now here's actually another good thing to keep in mind. So they listed pretty much at the end of the summer. They listed at the start of not October, September, and they went under contract 4 days later. They changed the status to under contract, meaning they probably accepted an offer the same day. So it could have just been, but like this could have been a motivated seller, who he's like, look, I want this price to sell. And he's like, yeah, I'll take the first offer that comes my way. That's like seems like they can close. So this might actually be kind of like an artificially low comp. That and I think our house is way nicer. Like ours has the garage. This one doesn't. It doesn't have the fenced in yard. I mean, it just you just look at it. It's got that kind of I don't know what you call. I don't know if that's like a blue or like a I don't know. Looks like a mint chocolate chip ice cream kind of color. That's a technical term. What's this thing? Now here's a great comp for you've got a pile of trash sold for 145. So I mean we could at least use that as the bottom. Yeah, we couldn't see what that property was. So let's move on. This is a 3-2 1947 sold for 220. Now this one's literally like right next to ours too. Yeah, so when we look at this map, and that's the other thing that's really good to look in mind is when we're looking at these comps. So the one that sold for 350, the other reason why I really liked it, because I saw it yesterday, is it's right over here. Like, so it's just around the corner. Now, sometimes just around the corner like that can be a big deal. That like, that could be like worlds apart. Not for this neighborhood. For this neighborhood, it's not. But this one sold literally right around the corner for 220. So let's take a look at this. Now, the one thing is, I think ours again has a nicer yard. There's also no pictures on this one. Now, this at least makes me feel kind of comfortable for making an argument of like an as-is offer of like, hey man, these houses are selling for like 215, 220. I wouldn't necessarily put that out there because it could actually hurt Kaware, because we'll probably need to be lower than this. Or I mean, ideally, we want to try to get lower than 220. I think we could sell ours to somebody else for, maybe close to 220. All right, so there's no additional pictures there. Let's street view. So, like, this chain link fence isn't really that attractive. They've kind of got these other houses right on top of them, and they've got a lot going on in this front yard. So I don't think it's like a killer house, which is helpful for us. So this is really good. This is why we kind of look at these things. Okay, so what are we looking at here? So it's actually really interesting. So if you'll notice, there's 2 transactions on the same exact day. If you also look at the names, the buyer is A Flipping Dream LLC, probably an investor, and the seller is RE Property Holdings LLC. Sounds like an investor. Now, this could actually be the same. Could be the same. Probably not. I mean, I would say definitely not, because it's listed here. What's the number one thing we know? It's a double closing. So that's really important. So, and what's nice is we get to see both prices. Now, this one's listed in, well, I can't remember if you read it from right to left or left to right, but how do we know which transaction happened first? Because that's what we really want to know. Because the first transaction is like, yo, what did this get wholesaled to somebody for? So here, and the sold price on the MLS is 220. But if we look here, RE Property Holdings LLC, this person picked it up for 200, unless, yeah, I mean, because I doubt this guy sold it for a 20K loss. Could be wrong, but my gut tells me he probably didn't sell it for a 20K loss. He probably picked it up for 200 grand and then did a double close, and he made a 20K fee. So that's good to know. One, we got to see what he picked it up for, but 2, like, this is a flipper that bought this house for 220. I like that a lot. And I think our house is nicer. And they bought it, when was that? So they're probably going to list it soon. I bet you this house will come back on the market like March 1st or like mid-March. But this house could be an awesome buy. Like, this would be the first person I call, is I would look up this LLC, not this one, because this is going to be the wholesaler. And he's like, oh yeah, man, I'll hook you up. I'm like, nah, I just want to call him. try to keep as much of that fee as we can. Now, if I can't get a hold of that buyer, then I will call that wholesaler. I'll be like, bro, do you still have that guy? Hit him up. So I like this house. All right, and then let's see what else. Oh, and then this one. All I really like this one. So this was the other thing. This one sold for, where is this house? Now, the one thing keep in mind is this one's like all the way over here. So we got to take it with a big grain of salt. But this was the other thing I liked. So the one house sold for $350, right? This one sold for $375. So we can now argue like, yo, it's not just this anomaly, this one time, super high sold property at $350. Like, nah, bro, there's two that sold like at $350 and above. I love that this even goes above, because now we can be like, dude, I'm being conservative saying it could sell for $350. Let's oh no, I want to look at pictures. So the other nice thing that I love is I would almost count that as garage, but like, it's just like a really nice, looks like almost fully enclosed carport. So I wouldn't on this specific house, I wouldn't be like, oh, ours has a garage and this doesn't. It's like, this carport versus our garage, I wouldn't put like a huge, like, oh my God, ours is way better. I would still argue, like, now to my buyer, I'm going to be like, dude, ours has a garage. This is a carport, right? But when I'm valuing the numbers, I'm going to be like, okay, they're similar enough. Let's look at the inside. Clean, it's open like this. Okay, so what's important here? Like, nice updated kitchen. Now, what? Well, I just went by it. And we've got a nice outdated bathroom. I like that. They kept the bathroom the same pretty much. It's got his old stuff, and they still got it. Now, where are we going to get pushback? This sold last summer. But I'm still, the other one sold for $350 recently. So we could still argue, be like, nah, bro, like things are still selling. So I'm going to actually argue a $350 ARV. So let's look at two things. There's two different ways we can do it. So let's take the average of the guy's number. Let's do 310. So for the agent. And if we did 70%, we're at 217. Now for that kind of repairs, now there's the roof, the porch damage. We'd probably gonna want, like, my guess would be, so that's a hard thing, is it depends on the interior. If the interior really looked like the pictures that he's saying, I think an as-is comp could sell for close to 300, which that rehab could be as light as like, 20 grand maybe, which would put us around like 200, not including like our fee and stuff. I honestly, I'm not a big fan of like just doing 70% in the minus repairs. Why? Because I think it cuts too much off. And I like to explain to my buyer, because like some buyers will be like, buyers I think love that the 70% formula is like a popular thing. Because if we look at it, let's look at it differently. Let's take that same price of 310. And I don't know, who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong and they're like the exact same number. And then I'm just like stupid. We'll see. Let's find out. So let's say 310. We'll take that same number. Let's times 0.92. 285. Why did I do that? I'm taking out 6% for an agent fee when the buyer goes to list it, and I'm taking out 2% for closing costs. Those are averages, right? So 2% for that. Now I'm going to take out what the buyer is going to want to make. On the low end, a buyer is going to want to make about 10%. So if they can sell it for 300, they're going to want to make 30 grand. So I'm gonna just do a little bit over, and I'm gonna subtract 35 grand. That's what a flipper is gonna want to make on this house. Now let's subtract repairs. Let's take the same repairs. What did I say? 20 grand. We're at 230. Now let's subtract our fee. I mean, ideally, I always like to shoot for making 20 grand. So let's do that. 210. That's with a 20K fee. But honestly, like my bare bones minimum is really 10 grand. So my maximum offer could be 220 based off of 300 with all that other stuff. That's a bit. We didn't even calculate our fee. Like if we subtracted a 20K fee just to keep them both the same, if I do 70% formula, my offer is 177. If I calculate it this way, it's like, whoa, wait, I can offer almost $40,000 more. This is what everybody else is saying to this guy. This is what you are telling him. And when your buyer gives you like, oh, dude, that's not at 70%. What I do is I don't argue with him, right? I'm not going to say, oh, this is 70%, right? I'm going to say, yo, bro, at 220, I was like, bro, you've got 6% for the agent fee on the backside. I was like, you got 2% for closing costs. I'm like, homie, you've got this much for now. What's not calculated in here is like hard money. We don't have money costs in here for the flipper. So they could give you pushback on that. Or they could be like, hey, the rehab's higher. And we could renegotiate all those things. I mean, you should kind of calculate something for hard money costs. But I mean, the same concept still applies, right? Like you're still able to get to a closer number here, right? And I can be like, bro, but you're making, you've got like a 35K spread if it costs you this, and this, right? And now the other thing is like a lot of guys that flip, like your more competitive guys, they're able to keep the costs lower on a number of other things. Some of them are true cash buyers, meaning they don't have money costs. That's a big deal. A lot of guys, they have like an in-house agent, or they just list it like, and this is the thing, they'll negotiate with you being like, bro, but I got to have 6% for an agent fee. And this is where you can kind of push the envelope on your price sometimes, because some guys will try to negotiate you down saying, hey, there's 6% for an agent fee. But they might know, they're like, yeah, if I buy this, I'm just going to do like a flat rate like listing where they list it themselves and they don't pay an agent fee, or they only pay like 2% for the buyer's agent or whatever, or they have an in-house agent to where they're paying like half that. So and all this kind of impacts your offer. And again, this is for initial offer, right? So we're not saying this is our die on the hill all day number. This is our, based on what you told me, if all this is true, right? Because some of you guys might be like, dude, there's no way that's a 20K rehab. I don't disagree with you. But the two things, one, we're only taking a 310 ARV, right? So we're taking an as-is ARV, right? We're taking a dated comp ARV. We're not using the 350. The other thing is we used it. Rehab's probably going to be more than 20K, but based on what he's telling us, he told us that it doesn't need anything except for like the porch, like the branch on the porch, which like that's not going to be a $15,000 job. So if something pops up, or if when we walk the property, it's not in the condition that they said it's in, and it's like, oh, dude, it actually does need a little bit more work, then that allows us to renegotiate it. And then maybe we do end up at that 180, 190, but we were able to do it in a process that, like, one, we're getting commitments from everybody like up front, and we're moving forward together. So everyone's kind of much more committed to this deal than just somebody that texted an offer at 180. 2, I'm able to give a reason as to why I need to lower my offer. And the reason isn't I want to make more money, right? Or the reason isn't like, oh, we're just like greedy investors, we need it at a lower price. No, it's we're able to be like, bro, here's the difference between what you told me and what we found out. And here's like the cost of those things. All right, cool. Now, if we did a 350, just for kicks, let's see what a 350 looks like. So if we did 350 ARV, we're going to do times 0.92, right? We're taking out 6% for agent fee, 2% for closing costs. Now, rehab's not going to be 20K on that one because we know it's got to get like fully updated. So, let's say like let's do like a 60K rehab. And then on that one, let's say they want to make 40, 45. Let's say 45. 217, and then we'd subtract our fee. So pretty close to the same offer, which is kind of funny. And that's one thing to kind of keep in mind too. You know, when you run the numbers, it's like, oh, well, my offer is kind of the same, you know, and I can pitch it to them one of two ways. Like, bro, either do this and just, you know, you have a lighter rehab and can flip this thing in like 2 weeks. Or, you know, if you're now, the other thing is they could probably do it for way less than 60 grand. You know, like let's rerun that. If we do a 350 ARV times 0.92, let's subtract 40 grand. Let's say they want to make 45, which honestly they could probably be willing to make less. Like guys would be willing to make 35 to 40. Now we're at 237, right? Minus our 20K fee. You know, we could come up to like 217. So we're still kind of right in that same ballpark though. Cool. So let's, where's my notepad? I ran through those numbers kind of quick, but I hope that made sense, was clear enough for you guys. What we're doing is we're just, oh wait, did I? Did I copy over all this information? I think so. Yeah, okay. So let's go back to our property. Let's call up the agent. Real quick, I don't think I've looked at a street view yet. I want to see what mine looks like from a street view. Like, if it was this, I was gonna be like, oh my god. All right, so let's, I think ours is this one on the corner. Okay. So, not bad. Yeah, I like this. I still like this better than, so it's definitely this one. It's not this one over here, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, then let's look at a satellite view. So this is ours right here. So the sign has a fenced-in backyard, but I don't think they have any of that in the pictures. Okay, cool. So we can kind of see it. Okay. I will say the one house that sold for 350, it looks as if it had a much bigger backyard. and a bit more privacy. But this isn't bad. This isn't terrible. All right, let's give him a call. Three 352-406-9675.
Hi, this is Robert. You have reached my voicemail. I can't take your call at the moment. Please leave me a message and I will return your call. Thank you very much.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Robert, it's Nathan. I took a look at the pictures, took a closer look at kind of the house on my end, at some stuff. Would love to chat with you about it. Just let me know when you have a minute today and we can hop on the phone. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Now, he also texted me and he's like, can I call you later? Why did I still leave the voicemail? I want to like get him to remember me and to know me. So one, he sees that I'm calling. Then he's gonna like get a notification that I left him a voicemail. He might listen to it, he might not. If he does, great. And then I'm also gonna send him a text responding to him. So that's like, it's like 3 touches right there in just like one simple communication. All right, can I call you later? Yeah, no problem. Talk to you soon. You soon. Thanks. I'll say take your time. All right, and I didn't save his number, so let me save his number so I know when he calls back. So what's that conversation gonna look like in case he doesn't call me back within the next like half hour? If you guys don't get to hear it, what is that gonna look like? Is he gonna call me back and be like, hey, Robert, I took a look, I can offer you 200,000, I can offer you 210. No, that is not what we're gonna do. That's not what we want to do at all. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have more of a conversation about the property. So I'm gonna ask him a bit more about the condition, and I'm gonna try to box him in to like really commit to, hey, the house is this condition, right? I want to ask him, get as many details as I can, and get him to really commit. So I'm gonna ask for things like age of the roof, age of like the AC. He said he wasn't sure about appliances if they were staying or going. You got to calculate those things into your offer. Even if you think that doesn't matter, like, dude, they're going to rip those out anyways. One, I mean, that can be a couple grand, right? So that can impact your offer. But even if it doesn't make a deal, that's something that you can negotiate into your offer, right? You can use that as a negotiating tool. It's like, well, yeah, but they're taking the appliances, you know, blah, 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 blah. Or I'll tell you what, if they were to take the appliances, I would need to be at this price, right? Whatever the case may be. Didn't save his name. Hold on. Robert Tolvo. Yeah. Tolvo. RE Agents Orlando. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm gonna try and get him to kind of box in and get him to commit on like, yeah, the house is in this exact condition. I'm gonna throw out a feeler as far as like, hey, I'd really like to be around this range. How close do you guys think you could get to this? I'm not even gonna say what my number is. I'm gonna throw a low anchor and then get him to be like, yo, can you come down to me? Or depending on how the conversation goes, I might just be like, based on this, I mean, realistically, what do you think they really need to get? Because I really, again, I don't want to make an offer. I know you said they've had offers, I think at 180, and that was like a hard no. I mean, what do you really, like, honestly, what do they realistically need in order to have all their problems solved and for this thing to close and for them to, everyone to be happy? What do they really need to be at? I could just ask them that, right? We've had the other agents tell us like, oh yeah, it's listed at 399, but if you can do 310, 320, that doesn't mean that price is going to work. But we got them to come down a significant drop. And now we can start having like a real conversation. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to feel it out. And then I probably still won't give my real number on the phone. Like, I probably will make it another call and be like, okay, let me just like crunch a few things on my end. Can I give you a call back in like 5-10 minutes? Right. And then I'll give them my hard number, because I want to take whatever it was that we had spoke about, consider it, and then, make my offer. Like, hey, here's my actual number. Because they got to feel, the other big part of it, of making your offer, is they need to feel as if they're like, everybody wants what? When you go to buy a car, a house, whatever, everyone wants to feel like they got a good deal. What is a good deal? A good deal, that's just, it's whatever you think it is, right? People are really chasing a feeling. It's not the price. You can actually upcharge them, right? And if they feel as if they're getting a deal, and it's so funny. I had a really good friend of mine buy a car last year, and I felt so bad. Well, I didn't feel bad for him, but the car salesman he was working with was like a nice guy. He was like new to the industry. And the funny thing was, I knew like my friend, like, dude, he was ready to buy the car day one. Like, he knew exactly what he wanted. He knew, like, I mean, he did all the research, right? He would have signed day one. It took a ridiculously long time in order for them to kind of make the commitment, sign, and move forward with the deal. Why? Because my friend even said it to me. He's like, dude, I just want to feel like I'm getting a deal. And it's so true for all of us. So same thing with an agent, where it's like, well, the agent doesn't care about getting a deal. No, but he doesn't want to feel like you're just throwing out an offer and like this is easy money for, like, he still wants to feel like he's doing a good job, and he wants to feel like you're actually taking this seriously. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give him what he wants, and then hopefully get a deal out of it. So I got to shoot a text to confirm that a dude can make it to the showing today at 2. Hey, Eric. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call a couple of agents. Just wanted to touch base and make sure you were all good for the walkthrough today at 2 p.m. I just want to touch base and make sure you were all good for the walkthrough today at 2 p.m. Cool. Okay. Let's call some agents. Man, calling Florida, seeing all this beautiful sunshine, and we just got like a ton of snow last night. It's pretty much like the only snow we've gotten all winter. Now, when I say ton of snow, like, there's probably people from like Buffalo. They're like, oh, cool, so you got like 6 feet of snow? No, we got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of snow. So, but for this year, this has been a ton of snow for us. Okay. Location says it all. Alrighty then. We're going to ask about what's going on with that tarp. Let's call up Pamela. (407-701-0597).
Hello?
I'm sorry. You called me right as I was taking a sip of tea.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem. This is Pamela, correct?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Pamela, this is Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing good. I was actually calling. I saw a listing of yours here on Ellendale.
Right.
Yeah, I was just calling to see if you had a minute to chat about it.
I can talk to you about it. What do you need to know?
Yeah, so I was calling. I was taking a look at it. I'm looking at it as potentially as an investment property. And I was wondering if you could kind of just tell me a little bit about it. A little bit about the house, the condition, and maybe anything that you think would be kind of important for me to know.
Okay, well, the house was built in '79. The woman who owns the house lived there until she was 97, and now that was just a year ago, she's moved into an assisted living facility. She'd been in and out of the house for a year or two before that. Her daughters are selling the house. It has hurricane damage. From the last hurricane, a branch went through the roof into the kitchen ceiling. So that's the biggie, where the roof definitely needs replaced and the kitchen ceiling needs repaired. There is a pool that has a leak, and because the mother never used the pool, she didn't bother to fix it, and the pool needs to be refinished also. The only other thing other than really basic cosmetics is there's a Federal Pacific electric panel that needs to be upgraded or changed.
Okay.
The rest of it is cosmetic.
Okay.
The kitchen has not been updated. It is the appliances do work, but most people would want to update the kitchen. The bathrooms have been updated. There is the 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, but they have one of the big things about this house. It has a family room that's about 23 by 30, a huge family room with a gas fireplace, a half bath, a walk-in closet. It's right by the pool, has a wet bar in there, so it's a really great room.
Got it. Okay. Now, I guess so for kind of everything that you're thinking, the roof, the kitchen ceiling, fixing the leak with the pool, getting that refinished, upgrading the electrical panel, updating the kitchen, new appliances, all of that, and then updating the interior. For this house, you know better than me. Kind of, I guess, ballpark. What do you think it would cost?
It would probably cost, my best guess, $75, but we don't have any firm estimates on any of that work.
Okay, so thinking about 75. Got it. Now, what do you think if all that was done? What do you think it would be able to kind of sell for on the back end?
Okay, based upon comps in the neighborhood, I would say 425 at this time. 6 months ago, probably 450, but things have slowed down a little bit.
Okay.
And it's only a guesstimate on my part.
Well, I gotta say, I really appreciate that insight, Pamela. I can't tell you how many people I talk to where they just look at the market and they'll be like, oh, like beginning, middle of last summer, things were selling for this. So you could get that, and they're just kind of out of tune with.
Slowed down a little bit, but it is a good neighborhood. It's a very convenient location, and there are a lot of advantages. Quite honestly, if that house were redone, it would probably be. I haven't seen any others that I've looked at that have as much square footage inside the house as that one in the neighborhood. But the houses in the neighborhood are all well built.
Got it. Okay. Now I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, when the father lived there, he put a large slab. I didn't measure it in the backyard and started a workshop.
Oh, nice.
And he was sick and didn't get to finish it. So there's a roof and a slab, and if someone wanted to take that and finish it, could they could make a workshop or have an outdoor patio area that would be a nice gathering place too.
Oh, okay, neat. Okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I'm taking a look at it here. I know you guys just listed it. I see it's listed here for 325. I don't know exactly, you know, what I'd be able to pay just yet. I have to look at things more on my end. But I do know, yeah, if we were just to kind of assume, you know, the rehab came in like right around 75, and if we think it could, you know, if it does look like it could sell for 425 on the back end, I know I wouldn't be able to offer 325.
Right. I understand.
But of course, at the same time, you know, I don't. The last thing I want to do is I don't want to make an offer that would insult the sellers and you know waste your time or mine. That's not my goal here. I guess do you have an idea as to kind of ballpark where you think they would really need to be at?
Okay, but we do have a number of offers, and several of those are above list price with 0 inspection and cash offers. So you know it's above list price now for the offers. So
Oh
we're
wow.
close to making a decision and going with someone. So
Yeah,
I
I was
don't
gonna, so
think, I'm
what's
sure they aren't going to take less than that, obviously.
no, that sounds amazing. What I guess what's kind of kept them from just moving forward?
Well, they actually accepted one offer yesterday, but we knew at the time it was higher than it should have been. But they said, well, let's just take it. So we did, and they had a typo on their offer sheet, which I suspected that.
Ah,
So they'll
okay.
be looking at the other offers today.
That's interesting. I've never heard that one. There's a typo. Let's learn something new every day.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I know you've got a number of other offers above asking. I'll take a closer look, you know, just to make sure. If I think I could be competitive, I'll give you a call back. And if not, you know, no harm, no foul. Maybe I'll just touch base. You know, if it's still listed in a few weeks, maybe I'll just touch base to reconnect with you.
Sure, that'd be fine, Nathan. Not a problem.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Pamela. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Take care. You have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So that's kind of funny. So did you hear that? Someone made an offer well above asking, and then she's like, oh, as we suspected. She's like, they had a typo. She was like, we knew it would be too high of an offer. She was like, and they had a typo. So these are the types of games that other people play. I think that's unethical, right? Like, don't go making an offer, because what their goal is they're trying to get an offer accepted so that they get them committed to them, to working with them. And then they try to, you know, play the game and finagle them and hassle them around. And then, you know, or who knows, maybe it genuinely was just a typo. Probably not, but yeah, don't do that, guys. Now she's pretty transparent about what the deal is with the house. People are asking, so she's thinking 425. You know, which is kind of funny because I'm taking maybe, you know, and if they're coming at way above asking, it means either all the offers are off or, you know, she totally missed something. My guess is she probably didn't comp it very well. Let's look at some of these houses now, because if you notice, one thing people are looking at is they're looking at all these houses right here. So on this side of the road, now when an agent does like a CMA report, they don't comp a property like we do. You know, it's kind of like they put in the address, they hit comp, and then it's a lot of properties to where if you were to look at them, you'd be like, dude, those aren't really comps. We'll actually look at that in 2 seconds because somebody sent me something like that. So let's look at these houses. So ours is a 3.3, 2,000 square feet. Definitely needs work. So this is nice. Is there an exterior picture? It's got a 2-car garage. Let's see. Okay, so not a flip. It's 569. Let's look at this one. So ours, yeah, ours has just got a single car and is built in. So she also said 19. I don't know. I think she had just maybe misspoke. She had said built 1979, but here it was showing up as 1959. What's 20 years of wear and tear? All right, let's take a look at this one. Now these aren't comps, but I just want to see. All right, this has got an in-ground pool. It's even got like a little shed in the back here. So the one thing when I looked at ours is like, oh man, it's got the pool and like it's got he was making it a workshop. Now the workshop, it did not look pretty, but I mean, a guy could easily kind of throw something up and make that look nice and turn that into a nice shed. My concern was, oh man, that really kind of cramps the backyard. Is that normal for this neighborhood? Not, oh, that's bad. It's just, is this kind of normal or is it not? I mean, I'm newer to Orlando, right? In a lot of these areas. So I don't know what's normal and what's not. So like the thing I like about this, same deal. Like they don't really have much backyard. It's like they got the pool and the shed. And this thing sold for $520. Let's see. So this sold for $621. That was a while ago. This is nice on the inside. This was a flip. Does it have a pool in the backyard? Nope. Let's look at some before and after. So they bought it at $390. Wow. What year is this? We'll look in a minute. So they redid this whole house. So this is a good flip. This is in 1963. Now, where's this one physically located, though? So this one's over here. It looks like they have more space over here. Like it didn't, like the houses are kind of right on top of each other, where ours is. Yeah, honestly, I think she's way off on her comps. Even when she said 425, I remember just at like a glimpse, I was like, that seems low. But so what did we do? Right? So she's like 425 ARV. She said a 75K rehab. And I'm like, so what do I say the obvious thing? I'm like, hey Pamela, like appreciate you sharing all that. You know, I know just from looking at it, are like basically I'm trying to be like, they're not firm on price, right? Because I know you have it listed for 325, but based on what you just told me, like somebody wouldn't be able to buy it. So where is it they really need to be at? And she's like, oh no, like we've gotten like multiple offers over asking. So that's a piece of information we want to know, right? I didn't ask her, hey, do you have other offers on the table? You know, what are your other offers coming in at? That's kind of a, you know, agents don't really like questions like that, right? It's kind of like when you ask the seller, how much do you owe on your mortgage? There's better ways we can ask the question or like get to that point. How do we do that? Is like, so this is one way, right? So that is kind of the black swan in this conversation. They've got other offers above 325. Okay, great. I don't need to waste any more time talking to her because I need to like comp this and see where they're at. Now, just because it has other offers does not mean you can't be competitive. It doesn't mean you can't make it. Like, it's actually a good sign. If people are competitive with a house and there's a lot of offers, it means it's something that people want, which is good, right? It's just going to be a little tricky to get, or it might be a little bit more tricky. Now, honestly, dude, so the one thing is there's no houses like this style, but we'll use the ugly 70% formula. Let's just say ARV's 500. So that'd put us at 350. So Now let's kind of do our method. So if we do 500 times 0.92, puts us at 460, and then let's subtract. Honestly, man, I'm gonna say like 100K rehab. Puts us at 360. Then we want to make, let's say, 45 on this house. Now, so this is Winter Park. This sounds like a really hot area. Yeah, it's right by Castleberry. So I say 100K rehab, but guys, there's like legit flippers. People can do things just at competitive prices. So sometimes you got to take that into account. There might be a guy who could do this for like 50, 60 grand. Right? So imagine if we cut our rehab in half, instead of 100 grand, it only costs 50. So let's add 50 to it. We're at 260. Why are we at 265? Oh, I clicked the wrong one, I think. I don't know. I did something there. Oh, I subtracted it. What's this one? And it's got the in-ground pool, which is nice. A lot of these don't. So another thing that this tells me is if this is getting that many offers, guys are feeling confident with the market, which is good. All right, so what am I going to do? I'll be honest, I can't get significantly over 325 on that one. What I'm going to do is, and kind of the nice thing is I can make an offer still. I could make a soft offer and let her know verbally where I'm at. What was I saying? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up with her, because I want to be the guy that's in the picture when someone comes back to them with like $30,000, $40,000 price reduction, or they have to cancel at the end of inspection because they locked it up too high, or whatever the case may be. And then I'm there. And the funny thing is, like, let's just say, even if my offer is like, dude, I can do this at 300,000. The other guy, he might have been trying to renegotiate it to that same price. They're not going to want to do the deal with him. But like, if they're like pissed off with them and they know, hey, I'm here ready to go, like I'm legit, they're going to want to go with you, rather than the person that kind of gave them the runaround. Cool. So what are we going to do? We're going to put Pamela into our CRM. Pamela. Let's put her phone number in here. I don't think we have Pamela's email. We're going to put the address. Listing, follow up, we'll put like 2 weeks out, because they don't have an accepted offer. Well, they accepted one yesterday, but they kind of got the runaround. Florida markets. Okay. Only. Let's do for follow up. Let's put follow up in here first. Whoops. So for today's date, 2/28-23. Only spoke about the house. Create relationship on next call. So what did I not do there? Just because, I don't know, I didn't get into it with her. I wasn't like, hey, do you have any other fixer-uppers that you might know of or that you might have? Do you work with investors? I didn't really get into that with her, and I kind of made a few assumptions, maybe right, maybe wrong. For her, one, I was kind of curious about the house, so we were just talking about the house. Two, she sounded older. She sounded older, like she knows her stuff. She's been in the game for a long time. Typically, the agents I'm looking for to really create a relationship with are typically like the younger, like hungrier people. If it's an agent who they've been in the game for a really long time, they've got like a really well-established network or whatnot. Honestly, a lot of the times, agents typically their goal is not to work with investors. We're not their ideal clients, typically. There's an exception to every rule, but typically we want like the young, hungry agents to where it's like they're newer, they're like looking to get things going, and like they're willing to put in the hustle and to work with those more difficult properties, or work with, you know, those houses that other agents don't really want to bother with or list. And a lot of times, like in a house like this, we were like, oh, but she is listing this kind of house. She's also, I mean, it sounded like she knew the lady that, like, and the family that went to the assisted living. So sometimes it's like a one-off, right? Kind of same thing with the Beachman property, where she's like, look, I really don't work with houses like this or situations like this, but, you know, I've been good friends with the family for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But it's not like they're not doing like lead gen on the daily. Typically. All right, only spoke about the house. Great relationship on next call. See if they accepted an offer. Spoke about house. Has hurricane damage. Have multiple offers above asking. Will likely need to renegotiate, or will likely get canceled or renegotiated, though. All right, so we have some follow up. Yeah, that's good enough. We really don't need a ton of notes on this one. She estimated K rehab and 4.5K ARV. ARV actually looks much higher. Like 500K plus. All right, let's make another call. So we can mark this as green. We spoke with Pamela. I feel like we spoke with Raphael. Let's start with some of these. Oh, who was it we wanted to call on? It was Monica? This was the one that we were looking at earlier. All right, Monica. So let's call her up. So it's been listed for 50 days. Now this is one of those properties where it's like, dude, we want to get this thing low. We want to try to get it low. All right, where's she at? Let's call her up. 407 432 8550.
Hello, this is Monica.
Hey, Monica, this is Nathan. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I was calling about a listing I saw here of yours on Lake Nina Drive.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just calling to see if you had a minute to chat about it, but it sounds like I might have caught you in the middle of something.
No, that's fine. What questions did you have?
Yeah, so well, I was taking a look at it. I'm looking at it as a potential investment property. I was wondering if you could kind of tell me a little bit about. I saw the kind of the pictures here. I kind of was able to read a bit of the notes that you have here on it. I was wondering if yeah, there's kind of anything more you could tell me about the property, anything in particular that you think might be important for someone like me to know.
Sure. So it's my client, my seller, he was renting it out for several years. Basically the renter stopped paying after COVID, and he had a hard time getting them out of there. When he was able to have them vacate the property, they left it in shambles. So it is, it's highly distressed. It needs pretty much new everything. And a couple of good things is that it's sitting on somewhat of an oversized lot, and the home itself is a little under 2,000 square feet. But they left tons of trash. They left, just a bunch of, just debris and stuff like that. And unfortunately, my seller, he's an elderly gentleman. He's on a fixed income, so he can't really afford to have any of it cleaned up.
Yeah.
So he just wants to, have an investor who's, has the resources and everything, just come and scoop it up and, and do something with it, kind of do their thing like you guys do.
Okay.
So that's basically, where we're at. And, we're asking for anybody that's interested to go see the property if possible, because we've had a couple of offers, but then once they see the property, it is a lot of work. So we want somebody to go see the property and make sure they understand what they're getting into before we accept, blind offers and that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at now. But, like I said, it does need work. The property has potential. I've seen, investors turn properties around, and I know that can be the case for this. It's just a matter of, I know you guys have your numbers that you have to meet and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, it really just depends on what kind of agreement everybody can kind of agree, come into agreement to.
Okay, got it. When I so I've seen the pictures that you have here. You're mostly kind of the house and the interior, and then when I bring it up on kind of like just like a Google Street View, there's a lot going on kind of in the yard. Is it pretty much look like there's bunch of cars, bunch of stuff? Is it sort of that same situation?
No, all the cars have since been removed. So yeah, do Google Earth Maps. Sometimes it can be, just old information.
Yeah.
All those cars have been removed. They had 20 cars out there. My guess is that they probably just salvaged them to get whatever money they could out of them. But they have all been removed. There's no cars there. It's just basically the home structure, and then directly across from the home, there is kind of like a studio apartment that was built that is not permitted, and then there's a bunch of junk.
Is that kind of building? Yeah, like sort of on the back side of the house. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. It's actually in front of the home. But yes, that's what I'm referring to. It's kind of like a studio apartment that they had built.
Got it. Okay. It does, and it sounds like that would probably need to get torn down.
That would need to get more than likely torn down. I did get an estimate from a lady that came out. She owns a cleanup demo company.
Uh-huh.
He quoted me $7K to remove the structure that was back there, and then $5K was pretty much all the debris. So, that's kind of what we're looking at for that. Just so you kind of the cost of that's going to be.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful.
Factor that in, but I have those estimates if it's something you do decide to, take on.
When for the other kind of people where they put in offers and then they walked it, was, I guess, what specifically, did they kind of find, or what specifically did they see that, kind of changed it for them?
So one of the gentlemen that put in an offer, basically, I believe he put multiple offers on multiple properties, and what they told me was that the other offers that they had put in, those numbers made more sense, and they couldn't do the property, so it was kind of one of those deals. Okay. And then the other situation was where they waived their inspection period. But then when it came time to put the deposit, he never put the deposit and backed out at that point.
Okay. Was it just someone trying to wholesale it, or was there? What I guess what I'm trying to find out. Not that I'm not afraid of any of the issues. I just so I can get the best understanding possible, so that I can make the best offer possible for you guys. I'm just trying to find out if there was something specific. Like when they walked in, like, oh, there's, this issue, or it's like this layout, or if there's something specific as to why they couldn't.
No, they didn't. They didn't give me any reasoning as far as why. And he wasn't wholesaling it either, because that was kind of one of the things I was trying to stay away from. Was wholesaling if possible. But because we've got a lot of offers in, that are. That's kind of what they're looking to do, but that wasn't the case here. I don't know what the reasoning was of why he didn't want to move forward.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. And then lastly, so my number one goal is that I've got to kind of do some homework on my end and take a closer look at it. I also, at the same time, my number one goal is of course, I don't want to insult, your seller with a low offer. I wouldn't want to put him through that, or kind of have you go through that either. Don't want to waste your time or mine. I do know that I probably will not, I know it's listed for 200 right now. I'd probably have a really hard time getting close to that number. I don't know if, do you have a ballpark idea of realistically, where he wants to be at, or where he needs to be at?
Yeah. So, we've had several discussions as far as, what would do and this, that, and the other. And, I think at the end of the day, he wants to walk away with right around like 155, maybe 150. He'd be okay with that. Okay. That's with, everything included, all the closing costs, everything. The other offers that we've accepted, they, when I run the net information for him, that's kind of where we're landing. So that's where he wants to be. So that's kind of what I'm trying to work out for him.
Got it. Okay.
I had a conversation with him this morning, and I told him that because we've got a lot of interest in the property. A lot of people, investors such as yourself are making offers, but the problem is they're not seeing the property. Yeah. So we're just kind of spinning our wheels.
Right. Right.
He wants to accept an offer because it's good, highest and best kind of thing. But then, when they see the property, they're not moving forward. So we just want a little bit more solid. So he kind of wants to wait until the end of the week to see what comes in, because we do have like people on the back burner that are like, hey, like if something falls through, let me know. But we just kind of want to see, you know, what comes up. He really likes, you know, the waived inspection period. But you know, we're just kind of waiting what comes in. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll tell you what, Monica, what I'll do is all that information was really helpful. Let me take a closer look at it. If I've got a good idea as to what he's really looking to get. Let me see if I think I could, you know, kind of be competitive. Then what I'll do is, I'll try to set up a time to go walk it. Is it something where I would need to schedule an appointment, or is it like open, you know, you can just go whenever kind of thing, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's pretty much open. There is a lockbox to get into the main house structure. So just let me know if you do want to take a look at it. Just shoot me over a text and let me know, and I can pass along the lockbox.
Okay.
And you know, and you can take a look at it and make your decision once you've seen it.
Okay, perfect. All right, that sounds like a plan, Monica. Yeah, so let me take a closer look at things on my end, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Guys, come on. How many times? If anybody that's been watching this challenge, this is like now, was this the third time we've had a 50K or more price drop from one phone call? Crazy, dude. Crazy. She went from, it's listed here for 200, and she's like, yeah, he'd like to get 150. The funny thing, now here's the power of knowing what the seller really wants. He wants a done deal. This is the type of person to where if you made your offer really strong, and what I mean by that is like, he wants 150K, and she's like, oh, he likes, you know, a waived inspection. Dude, if you came to him and you're like, look, I know it's really not where he's at, but I can do $97,500 with a $10,000 non-refundable deposit today with a waived inspection, no financing, and we can close in 2 weeks. That, and why? Because that's what he wants, right? Ideally, I mean, of course he wants to get as much money as he can get too, but like, at this point, he's had so many other guys kind of, you know, give him the runaround where he's like, dude, if he would at least respect the offer, even if it's not the price he wants, and we renegotiate, right? So it's listed for 200, but we could almost get it for, I mean, we could make an offer at like half. Now, the thing is, this is the most important thing, is if it's even a property that we could move. Now we don't have the time right now while we're on this call, but this is something to where what I would do is I would give one or two of my buyers a call, ask them ahead of time, like, hey, look, I think I can get this at a steal. You know, is this a project that you would be willing to do if it were for the right price? And just see what they say, and they can tell me what they would need to be at. Or if they're like, nah, man, like I wouldn't touch that. Because if all my buyers give you the feedback of like, dude, like even if you got that for like 50 grand, like, nah, man, I wouldn't want to touch that project because of all these other variables. It's too risky and it's too much work. And then, you know, there just wouldn't be enough meat on the bone at the end of the day. If that's the feedback I get from all my buyers, then it's like, I don't make the offer. But if they're like, yeah, dude, I could do it. And if I tell them, bro, if I get it, like, would you be prepared to put down a $10,000 deposit, non-refundable, blah, blah, blah? Would you be willing to do that so that I can get it for the best price for you? That's how we do these things, man. That's how you're able to do this without any money, how you're able to make commitments and keep them, how you're able to be honest and still freaking rock some deals. Well, that ends it for today. We're at 11 o'clock sharp. Guys, I hope you got a lot out of today. Unfortunately, we didn't get to chat with Robert. I actually had was it a call or a text message? He sent me a text. Okay, yeah, he wants to chat around 1 o'clock. So I'll be chatting with him later today. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to take another look at this property, and I'll be chatting with some of my buyers. And yeah, man, so we still got a bunch of stuff in the works. So I will keep you guys posted. And tomorrow we'll have an update on how the walkthrough went at 2 o'clock today. We'll see how that goes and how that conversation goes with Paula. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow. I will only be on YouTube. I will only be live on YouTube from 9 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. Eastern time. Come join me. Come give me some comments. Chat with me. I'll answer some questions for you if you have any. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, guys. Have a good one.